Hi, my name is Ruth Alvarez, and I'm Executive Director and founder of Merkelgobel. Merkelgobel is a nonprofit that is about two big ideas. First, that Indigenous women, rather than be victims of poverty, of racism, of a lack of education, of sexism, that they can be some of the best rural entrepreneurs in the world. And we're making that a reality by helping Indigenous women build community businesses that they own in rural Latin America and helping them export to major retailers in the international fashion industry. And then they use that income to send their kids to school themselves and provide a better future for their families. The second big idea behind Merkelgobel is the idea that social change work is too big and too important to leave just to the nonprofit sector. That we have to figure out how to engage the broader GDP, the broader economy in actively helping fight poverty and create social change. And in particular, what we're focused on is helping the fashion industry use its purchasing power and its supply chain and its market share to lift families out of poverty. So what we do is we help big retailers like Levi Strauss, Target, Stitch Fix, Nordstrom, Free People incorporate artisan sourcing and ethical sourcing as a bigger part. In some cases, it's the first time that they're doing it, and then sometimes it's a bigger part of their supply chain. And that's really exciting because it shows you what we've seen is that when we all come together and we create cross-sector partnerships, we are able to get so much more done, help so many more people, and it can be financially successful for our corporate partners. So that's the big picture about what Merkelgobel does. The story behind how we started was that when I was an undergrad at Yale, I had the opportunity to receive a series of fellowships to first work with community-based organizations in Guatemala and then do research for my thesis in Guatemala. And while I was there, I met these just absolutely amazing, inspirational women who never had the chance to go to school, but they were fighters, they were leaders, they were fighting for their families. And in many cases, they had next to no income, their families were starving, and their worst fear was becoming a reality, which was that their daughters like them would not have the chance to go to school. And while I was there, on the side of my other projects, I started working to try to build income opportunities for them, and realized over time that it was just so challenging. They were amazing weavers, but there were just only so many tourists in the country and millions of Indigenous women trying to sell them products. Many of them were returned refugees from the Civil War, and they'd relocated to an area that was a coffee region right before the international coffee market bottomed out, and there was just absolutely no jobs in the area at all. And so Merkelgobel started because every time I would go into a community for my research or for my work, after our classes or after our interviews, the women would come up to me and say, "Ruth, wherever you come from, would you take some of our artesanías to sell it?" And so I went back to Yale and set up a table on old campus, and I remember the first weekend we sold $5,000 in product, and it funded sending 26 little girls to elementary school for a full year. And then they sent the money, and then they would DHL me more product. And over time I realized this was the most important and most meaningful thing that I could do. That all these women needed was access to market. They just needed a market connection, and I could do that. I could build that for them. And we've grown. We now work actually with 750 women artisans all throughout, particularly Guatemala, and we connect them to major retailers internationally. It's so exciting. One of the best things about my job is immediate gratification. We get a humongous order from FabFitFun or from Stitch Fix or Levi's, and we start working on it, and you go into the communities, and women will literally show you what they were able to do for their family or what they were able to buy, or how many additional kids they could send to school because of that order. And the opportunity to be in partnership with these women, but then also with the buyers that we work with who've never had the chance to do something as part of their job where they're literally changing lives and helping communities and creating a better future for people. It's very exciting. It's very rewarding. And that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. Where we are right now is I feel very thankful that because we have such a wonderful team and staff, and I think also partly because we've really worked to stick to our core values as we've navigated the pandemic. We're actually coming out of the pandemic very, very strong. I'm very proud that at a time of such great need in rural Latin America and among migrant communities in the US, which we think as part of the community we serve, because often those migrants are coming from the same region where we work in the same families, we've really been able to step up at the time of great need and greatly increase sales. Our sales are on track to be up 35% this year in the middle of the pandemic. And we were able to work with our partners to get, Free People donated $250,000 of hand sanitizer to us so we could distribute hand sanitizer all throughout the Highlands to help keep people safe. Another partner donated food so that we could provide emergency food aid. It's really exciting that we've been able to grow, adapt, I won't go into it now, but major pivoting was required to do this, and we're doing it all also with an eye of the other side of the pandemic and where we want to be positioned to grow, because there's going to be even greater need after this. The pandemic has obviously really decimated income in rural Latin America, and there's so much need for this work. So we are very focused on scaling, bringing our model to more communities in Guatemala and to more countries within Latin America, with a focus on serving indigenous communities and that exquisite craftsmanship, which is so marketable, where we can help them build income. My personal story is that I had not intended to start this organization. I had intended to go straight to grad school after Yale, and actually, my thesis was, about the impact of globalization on economic and political development, and I had all these big plans, but realized there was this huge need, and I wanted to help, and I'm so thankful for having built this organization. But one of the things that's happened because of that is I have not ever had the chance to go to grad school. And everything that I've learned about how to run an organization, how to pivot, how to have leadership in a time of crisis, I kind of feel like I've learned on the ground, while doing it sometimes too often the hard way. And I'm personally very excited about the chance to have the opportunity to have a more, formal education and management strategies and leadership strategies, and particularly to have the chance to build my network. I feel very fortunate to have such a huge network when it comes to other nonprofit leaders and social entrepreneurs, but I feel that our success as an organization are when we've been able to build cross-sector partnerships and build partnerships with other types of organizations and companies and people that aren't already in the sector. Those are the moments that are transformational. That's when we go to inflection points where we go to the next level in terms of impact. And so I'm very excited about the chance to be able to build some of those relationships and build a network in that area. And unfortunately, when you're building a nonprofit, I'm sure there's some people where it's very easy from the beginning. And I always joke around when we're on panels at business schools or things like that everyone always, when you get up on a panel or you're doing public speaking, you talk about all the good stuff and people get the impression that it was so easy. I don't think it's usually that easy for everyone. And so because of all of that, and how difficult the early years were, I haven't had the financial resources to be able to do kind of, a master's program on the side. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited about this program as well.